Hello and welcome back to Bexico. This is episode 1 of the Teacher Enrichment Workshop. Moving on in the vocabulary of movement, our next stop is anatomically correct. Now, that's not a dirty thing. It's actually a position that the body holds, which is the position from which all movement originates. So when we're speaking about movement and describing it, we have to have a reference point before we can go somewhere. We have to have a starting point. So anatomically correct is the universally accepted position that the body holds where all movement originates. I'll refer to Mr. Thrifty here, who is actually not anatomically correct. He does have some imbalances and some conditions, but because he doesn't have any muscles, he doesn't have any soft tissue, that we can't really do anything about it. So we're just going to have to deal with his bones the way they are. Essentially, we have 4 natural curves of the spine. We have the cervical, which is the posterior neck. We have the thoracic, the posterior rib cage. We have the lumbar, the low back. And then the last curve is a little sneaky because we don't often think of it as part of the spine, but it is the fused vertebra of the sacrum and tailbone. I'll talk more about this in our anatomy section. Moving out from the spine in the anatomically correct position, we want to think about the 2 girdles of the body, the shoulder girdle and the hip girdle. We'll go into a little bit more depth in our anatomy section again, but in the shoulders, we want to think of the front body, the collarbones nice and wide, and in the back body, the scapula, the triangular bones of the shoulder blade, widening across the back and gliding slightly down the back ribs. In the pelvic girdle, there is an anatomically correct neutral position where the 3 front bones of the pelvis, the as-is, ASIS, and again, we'll talk about that in anatomy, and the pubic symphysis, or the pubic bone, are all in parallel alignment. Now, when you're upright, that would be a vertical alignment. So if we were to look at Mr. Thrifty in profile, we can see that his anterior superior iliac spine, the as-is in direct vertical alignment with the pubic symphysis. When those 3 bones are aligned in the front body, then we get that natural curve of the lumbar and the sacrum tailbone here in the back body. Coming out of the pelvic girdle, we want to see both femur bones, the thigh bones, in parallel alignment. Now, a lot of times, because of repetitive patterns or heredity or trauma, a lot of times our thigh bones are either rotated externally or rotated internally. And when we're speaking of an anatomically neutral position, we want to see both kneecaps and thigh bones rotated parallel and forward.